Thank you so much, Congressman, dear friends, colleagues, and esteemed guests from really all over the world. Nobody can achieve anything without partnerships and without support and without understanding of really friends, partners from all over the world. And standing now in the US Capitol, I can't but not show a huge amount of gratitude from our perspective, especially to our closest and strongest ally, to the United States of America, for its steadfast support, not just over the past 76 years of Israel's existence, but especially since October 7th of last year, when Israel sustained the worst terrorist attack ever, the deadliest day for Jews in one single day since the Holocaust, and yes, a huge surprise. Our enemies managed to take us by surprise. And we're now at day 425 since that horrible Black Saturday. We still have 101 hostages kept in captivity in Gaza. Unfortunately, quite a number of them, we already know, are deceased, but we are completely committed to bring every single one of them home. And some of them also hold citizenships from countries that you represent here as well, from across the globe. For the past 425 days, Israel has been confronted with quite a number of fronts. I don't know any other country in the world that is going through this today, and frankly, I'm not quite sure there are too many countries in history that had so many fronts that they are dealing with simultaneously. So naturally, this all started with the infiltration by Hamas on October 7th of last year, murdering, butchering, maiming, raping, beheading of over 1,200 civilians, people, men, women, children, elderly, not just Israeli, not just Jewish. There was no distinction. And that took us by surprise. And then we took action. We are continuing to take action to bring back all the hostages, but in a very big way to make sure that October 7th happens never again. Not in Israel and not anywhere else around the world. This is not just Israel's war. It's a war against evil in the most simplistic way and a simplistic manner. Yes, there is a lot of chatter about civilian harm and about all kinds of other things, which we are mitigating and we're working on tirelessly as well, including on humanitarian aid to the Gazans who are suffering. But let's not forget, they are suffering because of Hamas. But we are determined to fight and to win this war for the benefit of all of us here and so many other people around the world. For us all to be able to sleep quietly at night and peacefully at night. Because God forbid, if terrorism and evil wins here, tomorrow morning we find it in other places around the world, just as they intend to do. This is true for Hamas in Gaza, front number one. This is true for Hezbollah in Lebanon. And as we have nothing against the Palestinians, civilians in Gaza, we have nothing against the Lebanese people in Lebanon, it's against Hezbollah. We have the other front in Syria, another unfolding story as we're speaking now and talking now and meeting now. We have another front from the Houthis in Yemen, who are continuing to fire rockets on Israel. We have another front emanating from Iraq by the militias, the Iranian militias, the Shiite militias, firing rockets on a daily basis to Israel from there as well. And then, of course, as I said earlier, Gaza and now also, for the past quite a few months, also in the West Bank. All of this each one of these fronts orchestrated by Iran. Iran is still able, for some reason, to find some kind of a sense of immunity, hiding behind their proxies, hiding behind the malign activities of all these groups and all these organizations. And Iran has to get a very clear message of enough is enough. Iran attacked Israel directly twice in the past 7 months, and they felt the response. And Iran is now exposed. Iran's air defense capabilities are severely degraded following Israel's retaliation there. And Iran is getting to be more and more isolated. With the deal that we managed to come through with in Lebanon, this further isolates Iran, puts more pressure on them, and yes, it puts also more pressure on Hamas, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes as well. But we need to understand the overarching entity there is Iran, and it's incumbent on all of us to put as much pressure on Iran to walk away from its nuclear program, to walk away from its malign terrorist activities all over the world, not just in our region. And yes, something which unfortunately is not spoken enough about is also to look at what Iran is doing to its own citizens inside Iran. And the more that Iran feels the pressure, the more that it will walk away from these activities that it is continuing to do. Iran is not just working in the Middle East. We're seeing the very strong relationship, support, and work that Iran is giving the Russians with the fight with the war in Ukraine. And it goes in both directions. And we see their connections and their arms in so many other plates and so many other pots around the world. And I think we need to put a huge amount of emphasis on that and work closely together to see what else can be done. How do we step up the pressure on Iran to walk away from these issues? And yes, Hamas is now under pressure. We have degraded their capabilities in an unbelievable manner, in a way that most people around the world probably didn't think that we would be able to do. But unfortunately, they are still there. It's not that we are after every single Hamas terrorist or every single AK-47 that's in Gaza or RPG rocket launcher, but to take away their capabilities to ever orchestrate terrorism again and to ever govern Gaza again. The Gazans deserve much better than this. And this is something we still need to make sure that does not happen, that they do not continue to govern Gaza. And from an Israeli perspective, of course, the ultimate goal is to bring back security and safety to our people, to our citizens, to our families. My own youngest brother lives in the Gaza envelope. He was in that safe room in his house for 12 hours with his young kids and his wife on that atrocious day of October 7th. The only reason he was saved is because one terrorist who came with a paraglider into their neighborhood, into their village, instead of turning right to his house, he turned left to another house and then continued in that direction. So the idea is to be able to bring every single one of the Israeli citizens back to their homes, both down south and, of course, up north, with a border with Lebanon. And we're working on all these fronts, and we will prevail, as we have done up to now, and we will continue. And again, with the support of so many of your countries around the room here. Those are 6 fronts. But we have another couple of fronts, which are not necessarily directly military fronts, but they are things that we are dealing with. Number 7 is the multilateral arena, aka the UN and its various entities. A place which the word hypocrisy is probably the easiest term that I can use, and most diplomatic term that I can use, when I refer to the way that it addresses Israel, not only compared to other places around the world where real atrocities take place and where there are really bad regimes and there is nothing that the UN does about them, whether it's human rights in Iran, in China, in North Korea, in Syria, and other places around the world, but also in the singling out of Israel and having a completely different set of standards when it comes to dealing with Israel, forgetting that Israel is, again, fighting the war for the entire world, forgetting that Israel is the only Jewish state for the Jewish people in the world, forgetting that it is Israel's not just right, but obligation to self-defend its own people, forgetting that Israel is the only democracy in the region, and so many other things that Israel stands for, and we're so proud for and so proud about. And we will not apologize, not for winning these wars and these battles, and not for fighting against UNRWA as just one entity, which is completely infiltrated with Hamas, with terrorists. And this is a UN body, paid by dues, by memberships from all of us around this room. We're all supporting this, an organization which its entire purpose is to perpetuate the whole idea of refugees into the 5th generation and then some, instead of helping to rehabilitate them and to help them and then to basically fit into societies like it should be done. And yes, we're facing quite a number of fronts within the UN itself and its affiliated bodies, ICC, ICJ, and so on and so forth. And the last front is something that unfortunately we're facing here in the US, we're facing this in Europe, we're facing this in other places around the world, is the exponential rise of anti-Semitism. And it should be mind-boggling to all of us, the extent of anti-Semitism, the threats on Jewish people, on Israelis, throughout the world. Just a couple of weeks ago, we saw this horrendous attack on Israelis, on Jews in the streets of Amsterdam after a soccer game, for absolutely no reason, with no real provocation, just because they were Jews and just because they were Israelis. The fact that Jewish people cannot walk around with a Star of David around their neck, to Islamophobia or any other sorts of hate. Anti-Semitism is anti-Semitism. We should all call out against it and work to eradicate it. One of the ways that the international community has been working with to deal with this is through, to begin with, defining what anti-Semitism is. The most well-known working definition for anti-Semitism, combating anti-Semitism, is known as the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA definition for anti-Semitism. And I encourage all of us here and all other countries and places around the world, not just on a federal level, but also a state level and local level, and sports clubs and universities and schools and everywhere else, to adopt this definition as a definition of what anti-Semitism is, and to work on that to eradicate this. And all these fronts do come together. They're all interconnected in so many different ways. And as we're not going to be apologetic about fighting anti-Semitism, we're not going to be apologetic about fighting the bias in the UN against Israel, fighting terrorism, and bringing a safer and better place for the entire world, yes, the entire world, but from a very narrow standpoint of Israel, a better place for us, for Israelis, for Jews, who all we want to do is to be able to live peacefully, to work further on developing our next technologies, the next technologies that benefit the world, to showcase the history of Israel, the culture, the traditions, the tourism, and everything else, for us to be able to work much closer together going forward as well. So thank you very, very much for being here, for listening. I congratulate you for the conference, of course, and this is definitely a great opportunity to be able to get together and see how we make a better world for all of us. Thank you.